Alright, so we're going to start off with our dry ingredients. Now, the great thing about this recipe is everything just goes into one big bowl, mixed up, and you throw it in the oven. It's perfect. So I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I use unbleached. And then 1 cup of wheat flour. You don't even notice it's in there, and it just has a little bit more fiber in it, so really good stuff. Then I'm going to add 2 cups of unprocessed sugar. I know it's a lot, but this makes a lot of pumpkin bread. Then we're going to go in with the spices. I just happen to add all the dry ingredients at once, but it's really your choice. So you've got some cinnamon, nutmeg, and I add a little bit of allspice, and it just gives it a little warmth and a little hint of like, I don't know what that is, but it's good. So it's a really nice thing to add. And then there's also baking soda, which is going to help it rise up and be nice and fluffy and light. So go ahead and just give that a little stir, just like that. The mixer is going to do all the work for us today, though, so it's great. Then right here, I've got 4 eggs, and these are just like medium-sized eggs, along with 1 cup of vegetable oil. I'm sorry, a 1/4 cup of vegetable oil, not quite that heavy. Then right here, I've got about 1/2 cup of water. I use a tiny bit less. And then a 1/4 cup of light sour cream. And Greek yogurt is also great. And this makes the bread super moist and nice and just chewy and dense. It's really good. Then, of course, the star of the recipe is 1 15-ounce can of pumpkin puree. And I know a lot of people nowadays are starting to make their own pumpkin puree. And they will just buy a pumpkin, chop it up, and roast it for even like an hour, I'd say. And then just puree it up in the food processor, and you're good to go. And that also freezes really well. Sorry, guys, that's my crazy dog. So go ahead and add that in there. And I like to break up my egg yolks a tiny bit as well. And then, my last ingredient is a super ripe banana. Just break that up right in there. And this is actually going to take the place of the rest of the oil that would normally go in here. So it would usually be 1/2 cup of oil, but I do 1/2 banana, 1/2 oil, and it's still just as moist. Go ahead and break that up with your fingertips. Alright, so I'm going to go put this in our KitchenAid, our stand mixer, just with the mixing paddle. You can also use the whisk paddle, your choice. And I'm just going to blend this until it's really nice and combined in a bright, beautiful orange color, and then we'll be right back. Hey guys! So, our pumpkin bread just came out of the mixer, and it's really nice and thick and beautiful in this gorgeous orange color. So now we get to add one of the best ingredients, which are the chocolate chips. I'm just using semi-sweet chocolate chips. I think the milk chocolate is a little too sweet with all the sugar we put in here. So go ahead and add 2/3 of a cup right in here. And a little trick of mine, ooh, one more for me. A little trick of mine is to keep them frozen, because that way when you put them in the oven, they won't melt instantly, and you won't end up with chocolate sauce instead of like beautiful, nice, soft chocolate chips. So go ahead and mix those in. And of course, add as much or as little as you like, but I prefer to have more of the pumpkin bread than chocolate chips in every single bite. So mix it up so it's nice and evenly distributed. Just like that. Beautiful. Now, I have 4 standard loaf pans right here, and I grease them so they won't stick at all. Very, very important. And I'm going to go ahead and get all of our batter into the tins, and we'll be back in a second. Alright, so I just finished filming all of our tins. It actually fit perfectly into 3 instead of 4, but that's totally fine, and we'll get a nice thick loaf. So I want to show you a little tip. If you just give it a little shake side to side, and then tap it on the counter, that gets all those air bubbles to come up, so we get a nice chewy, chewy loaf. Now this next step is totally optional, but I really like to do it. Just take 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar, and then I mix it with about a tablespoon or so of pumpkin pie spice. This stuff is so good, and it just reminds me of fall. So you just want to take a little bit of that sugar mixture and sprinkle that right over the top. And what's going to happen when it bakes is it's going to caramelize, and then it's going to form a nice sugary crust that's going to give a little bit more texture to this really creamy, sweet bread. So go ahead and sprinkle about 1/3 of that right over the loaf. A little bit of it might dissolve, no problem. And it also just adds that beautiful pumpkin pie aroma, and it's so gorgeous. So these are all going to go in a 350-degree oven for 1/2 hour to 45 minutes, and then I'll come back and show you how they look. See you in a second. Alright, so this is actually the next day. That's why my clothes are a little bit different. But all I did was took our pumpkin bread out of the oven and let it cool just in its pan for about 3 to 4 hours or so, just till it was cool to the touch. And then I covered it with a little tin foil and let it sit overnight. And I like to do this before freezing it, because it helps the flavors just develop a little bit, and it's kind of like anything. The next day, it's just that much better. So now, all I'm going to do is just take it out of its tin, wrap it pretty tightly in tin foil, and put it in a freezer bag. And this will stay in the freezer for up to 2 months. So it's awesome to make it in advance if you have an event to go to, or if you just know that you might want it later and pumpkin's really cheap right now. So anything like that. Or it's a perfect little treat for breakfast or dessert. It's a snack if you toast it up with a little butter. It's awesome. So I hope you guys try this recipe, and I hope you enjoy. Comment below and let me know how it works out for you. And don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.